I don't know. And there's that accent again. Thick this time. The anger not the only thing coming and going in waves. It sounds so fake. Too sudden in its onset to be real. Like she's a bad actor forgetting her character. She just knows these things. So, she knew a few times when you were plotting against her, and from this, you concluded that she was an evil supernatural force in the shape of a pony, instead of that, oh, she has some spies and you're kind of easy to read. The words come out sharper than I had intended, and they keep coming, like water out of a broken dam. Why are you so determined to argue with a decision that's already been made? We're here. You're here. And even if I did believe you, even if I could run away, I'm the only reason you're still alive. She's gonna kill me anyway. She's only humoring you. Green whimpers, trying to reach up my leg to my body, but the restraints won't let her move that far. Sweetheart, you got it. Don't you sweetheart me! I wrench my leg out of her grasp and slide my hooves back to the floor. What's done is done. We're here. We're here, and we're both getting through this. Going back home. You hear me? I know what I'm doing. I said I know what I'm doing! I snap, turning away from her. I'll be back, okay? I need to go meet with Rarity. Siren, wait! She calls out, reaching after me, but she can't reach. My makeup kit. Your what? I ask, incredulous, turning back to stare at her. I don't think this is really the time or place to be touching up your eyeliner, Green. I know. I've never been without it. I know it's somewhere around here. Her voice is pleading, really worried. No, frightened. As frightened as she was when I came in. It only takes me a moment to put it all together. Your makeup kit, huh? I ask flatly, my tone dry. I guess I should have wondered why you pulled that thing out at every opportunity. Sweetheart, it's not like that. She pleads, insists. So what is it like, exactly? I demand. She doesn't answer. What stops working if you can't file your horn every day? She doesn't answer. I know Would You Kindly is your hypnosis. So what's the makeup for? Your longevity? I know that you're not actually 18, Green, if that's it. I mean, I have no idea what your other cutie marks might do, so I'm guessing here. Siren, I'm sorry. She whimpers. Please. It takes a little poking around, but I eventually find her things in a plastic bin in one of the cabinets. It's a motley assortment, smashed and crumpled energy bars, water, ticket stubs, loose change, a glass bottle of assorted pills, her horseshoes, lockpicks, a graying photo of some stallion on a farm, a lighter, and a host of other odds and ends I don't care to examine. I find your makeup kit and file at the bottom, levitating them up and shutting the cabinet door. Fine. Here, I say curtly, tossing the little vanity case down onto her side, the horn file still floating beside me. I'm starting to feel sick again, all dizzy, my gut twisted into knots. Do you need me to do anything? Take the spots off my horn, please, she says, and brush up around my eyes. Green, there are no spots or scratches on your... I let out a stiff sigh, crossing onto the bed's edge in 2 quick steps. Fine, I say, snapping open the kit. I have no idea what I'm doing, but you can't see the end results anyway. I just run the file over her horn a few times and brush some shade of green into the space around her eyes, or as close as I can with a blindfold. It seems to calm her down, and after a few moments of that, I give a brusque, "Good enough?" "Yes," she says. "Thank you. Can you leave the... I'm leaving the kit and file here, okay? Right on top of you so that you have them if you need them." I put the vanity case and file back on her side, resting them over the padding there. "I'll check on you later, okay?" Green doesn't say anything, and I don't wait for her to answer before I turn to go. On the way out, I notice a clipboard I left by the door, and I sweep it up. Most of it's medical gobbledygook, but there are summaries at the end I can understand. Patient displays acute paranoia is one. Prone to sharp mood swings and violent outbursts is another. Assaulted and orderly, occasionally unsure where she is, expresses a belief in invisible ponies watching her. Overwhelming phobia related to Rarity in the pavilion. Excuse me. The guard interrupts my train of thought, rising from behind the desk. I heard things got a little heated in there. Are you all right? Yes, I answer, looking up from the clipboard. I feel a little sick. but it'll be fine. I slot the clipboard back into its little mount on the outside of the door. Could you direct me to the reflecting room now, please? So, you're modeled too? The mirror in the reflecting room asks, after a few minutes of silence have passed between us. It's a very strange place, though I can see where the name comes from. At 30 paces across, it has a room to spare, and the high domed ceiling makes it feel cavernous. That ceiling serves as an anchoring point for cranes, winches, steels, and brass arms of all kinds, all carrying a vast array of mirrors, lamps, and lenses. A menagerie of glass ponies circles the room, each one wearing a different dress or outfit. In the center of it all is a space where a pony is clearly meant to stand, surrounded by glass plates suspended from thin cables. It's a grand construction, but the purpose of the room is simple enough. When one of the glass ponies passes into the sight of the mirror and lenses, the dress it wears remains visible, but the glass vanishes. A pony standing in the center of the room would seem to be wearing the outfit. Presumably, manipulation of the various devices here allows other feats, but at its heart, this is an enormously elaborate dressing room, allowing the operator to put the subject in any situation or outfit they like. I can see how it would appeal to a pony like Rarity. But she's not here right now. She stepped out to deal with a minor emergency, or so the guard said. She'll be right back. For now, there's nothing to do but sit in one of the little couches by the door. Well, that and try not to make eye contact with the other mare waiting nearby. No, I answer. I'm an actor. I'm not sure if this space is for waiting guests or for observers to whatever process goes on here. But there are some books and magazines and stuff scattered around. Paging through one of the books passes the time, even if I'm not paying much attention. It's about a filly-fooler unicorn fighting an evil stallion with a red eye. I think they're an item or something, though. Oh, she says, interrupting me after barely a page. I grit my teeth and focus in on the book. There's a fight scene now, and it's kind of interesting. I guess you must be a pretty good actor to have Rarity do your work personally. I shrug. There's a zebra, and this pit. So are you fixing the scars? Or are you having some other work done? I'm meeting with her. I'm not here for surgery. I answer. I've lost my place on the page now, and I try to find it again. Somewhere near the start, I think. Oh, that's neat. You're some pony important, I guess. She says. I'm not even trying to find my place again at this point. I just know she's going to. I'm Epiphany, by the way. Siren song. I introduce myself in kind, snapping the book shut and turning my head to face her. She's sitting on the couch across from mine. And she's young and beautiful, of course. What else would she look like? It's like Rarity rolled her up in silver, baled her coat like metallic hay. Her barrel, her chest, most of her torso is radiant chrome, a pure metallic coat as lustrous and smooth as greens. Unlike greens, though, it has so many subtleties, layers. The silver doesn't cover her whole body. Her lower legs, flank, tail, mane, and most of her face are a rich earth brown, and when the silver draws near them, it disperses like smoke, coiling in those beautiful patterns that leave you uncertain where the silver ends and where the brown begins. Why brown? Because she's an earth pony, maybe. Her mane is tousled, a mess, but I don't think it's meant to be fixed. It makes the brown seem earnest and real, and the silver seem all the more perfect by comparison. She has 4 cutie marks that I can see. The one on her flank is a yin-yang wheel. There's a pony biting its own tail immediately below her shoulder, a pile of books on her back, and a dove with outstretched wings on the side of her neck. They really should ruin the effect, but they actually kind of work, and I can't help but notice that her original cutie mark is surrounded by brown, while all the new ones are surrounded by silver. I wonder if that was intentional. She mumbles, tapping her hooves together. Of course, she notices that I'm sizing her up, but she doesn't say anything. She just stares down at the floor, her tail awkwardly flicking back and forth. I get the impression she's been sitting there for a while, but she hasn't touched any of the books near her. She doesn't have her modeling clothes yet, which makes sense in this room, really. But there's a set of saddlebags on the couch next to her. They're well worn and a bit filthy. Sorry, I'm new here. It's okay. So am I answer, keeping my tone soft so it won't show my irritation at the interruption. I'm really not in the mood to talk to any pony right now, much less one of them, but she's so nervous, and it's not like yelling at her will make this less awkward. So, this is your first big modeling job? Oh, you could say that. She laughs nervously. still not able to meet my gaze. It's my first job in a while. I didn't really apply so much as Rarity, picked me. She must have thought you were very deserving, I answer, thinking back to the coffee shop. If she can make any pony this attractive, I guess it does kind of make sense to give modeling jobs as gifts. Epiphany somehow manages to seem even more awkward by the time I'm done, but she nods. Yeah, I guess she did. She agrees, but she's clearly uncomfortable with the praise, her tail flicking back and forth as she finds ways to look at everything in the room but me. We were just doing some color tests now. I don't really start until tomorrow morning, but Rarity wanted to do some last-minute checks. I'm not really sure what a color test is, and I'm pretty sure she isn't either, but it's something to say. So, you want to see my before pictures? I'm sorry? I ask, peering at her a little more closely. That makes her glance up for a moment, catching my gaze with the cutest little blush. The before pictures. You know, what I used to look like? I give a nod, and she reaches down into her bag with her muzzle, pulling out a bundle of photographs. I float them over and sort through them. Little glossy pictures of a filthy off-brown earth pony with a docked ear and a noticeable overbite. There are some close-ups of her face, her jaw, her flank, and a few zoomed-out shots of her wearing those saddlebags. She's really dirty, her mane a tangled mess, her slides smeared with something. Your eyes are the same, I say, flipping through the photos and glancing up at her. That surprises her, and for a moment she forgets that she's afraid to look at me, glancing up and across the way. She was probably expecting me to say that she looks like a totally different pony, but I think I can do better than that. She changed everything else, but your eyes are the same. It's actually kind of conspicuous when you notice it. You're, yeah. She agrees, with an overeager little nod. Yeah, Rarity knows best, I'm sure, but I said that I wanted to recognize myself in the mirror. Which I do, I look totally different, but it feels like you look totally different. Not like there's a stranger on the other side of the glass, I summarize as I pass the pictures back, and she nods, just like Green in the mirror, and her stupid makeup. Still, that must have been very unsettling. No? I mean, I guess it should be, she says, looking at her hooves as she scuffs them up against the couch. But the whole thing feels so unreal that it's like I'm dreaming. 2 weeks ago, I was living in a crate under Spitfire Station and stealing food out of the trash. Now it's like I keep worrying that I've taken some bad pills and I'm curled up in my box, hallucinating all of this. What happened? I ask, thinking back to the pictures and the ponies Green and I passed in the halls on the way to the tram station. Was she one of them? Did I walk right past her and not realize it? All their faces are running together, but I'm sure there were a few earth ponies there. A doctor got lost on his way to work, ended up somewhere he shouldn't have been. 2 markers jumped him. She tells the story stiffly and quickly, without much inflection, like she was embarrassed to even be associated with the events. It happens, but normally they just take the stuff and scram before security shows up. These 2, though, they had something against doctors. He dropped his bags, but they were going to cut him up anyway. So I shouted and threw a bottle at one of them. And they ran off, I ask. Giving her a modeling job for saving a doctor's life does seem pretty fair. More generous than most ponies in the city would be. No. They got distracted, and when they turned their backs on the doctor, he ran off. So they, She falls silent for a long while, rubbing her forehooves together. Rarity was there when I woke up in the hospital. Oh, I'm sorry, It's only... The last thing I remember before is being on the ground and coughing up blood, and I was so sure I was about to die. And this place has a really bad reputation, but every pony here has been so nice, and Rarity said she thought she owed me, and that I could have whatever I wanted. Her words come quick, nervous. She's still rubbing her hooves together, back and forth, her gaze going this way and that over the floor. I just said I didn't want to live in a box anymore, but now she's given me a job, and she expects me to look good on camera, and I don't really know what I'm doing. Epiphany! I almost shout, and her head jerks up like it was on a spring, meeting my gaze head-on. Her eyes are wide, startled, but I give her a soft smile in return. One at a time, I unfold my legs, sliding back to the floor and crossing the distance to the other couch. Relax. This is all not suddenly going to go away if you mess up once on camera. I know, she says, though her voice is anything but convinced. But I don't feel like I've earned any of this. I threw a bottle. The way Rarity talks about me, you'd think I was some hero who fought off an army. For a moment, I don't answer. It's a pause for emphasis, letting her build up some curiosity and letting wait to what comes next. It drags out the silence. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. And then just as she turns her head up to see my face, I give her a slight roll of my eyes, setting my jaw. Reluctance, irritation, but decisiveness. A master putting up with her students' foibles. Here, I say, levitating a pet bar, a bottle of water, and some gauze out of my belt, floating them over to her. Huh? She asks, squinting at the items and then glancing back to me. Tomorrow is your first day, right? I ask, quickly and firmly. That means they'll be putting you through your paces. Different lighting, different poses. They're going to make you do exactly the same thing a million times under incredibly bright, hot lights, and you'll have to do it while wearing a ton of makeup. It's not going to be modeling, it's going to be a workout. Only when you're exercising, you get to take breaks. I nudge the levitating items towards her, clearly indicating for her to take them. Tuck these in under your dress so you can get them between shots. The gauze is for when you start to sweat. Dab it, don't wipe, and gently. If you wipe your makeup off, the photographer will throw a hissy fit. Oh, she says, reaching out to take the pet bar with her teeth, tucking it into her bag. And the water is for drinking. I press on, and she gives me a funny little stare. They'll be working you hard and won't let you take a lot of breaks. You'll be tempted to stop drinking water so you don't have to pee. You know what you get that way? Sweaty? She guesses, tucking the bottle away into her bag in turn. Heat stroke. No pony ever said being a model was easy, I answer, watching her nod, soaking all the information up like a sponge. And the pet bar? She asks as she tucks the cloth away last of all. It's free if you get hungry. What else would it be for? I ask, chastising, but she takes it the way I meant her to, giving a timid little smile and looking down at the floor. I could see Rarity didn't pig you for your brains. You're kind of a pretentious jerk, you know that? She asks, but she's smiling when she says it. I'm an actor? I have to do all that too, except I'm expected to perform at the same time. Miss, stand there and be pretty. Your job sounds so difficult, really. I chide, and she giggles. Some actor you are. I've never heard of any of your films. She insists, teasing back, her gaze hesitantly lifting, but this time it stays up. Or were you playing the all-important role of background pony number 2? Film? Excuse me, film is where actors who can't handle the stage go. I make a wide sweeping gesture around the room, like all its lenses and mirrors were the sandbags and cables above the Canterlot Opera House. I don't need editing and special effects to move a pony's soul. I get it right the first time. Oh, I get it. She nods as though in sage understanding, an act ruined by the silly little grin on her face. I'm sorry. You look so young I didn't realize you were super old. And precisely what is wrong with an older pony choosing to appear young. Rarity cuts through our conversation, her voice close and sharp. Epiphany actually lets out a strangled, startled shriek, leaping to her hooves and scrambling to see where the voice came from. All I have to do is tilt my head to see where she snuck up on us, moving behind the mirrors. She looks like she did this morning, except that her outfit is clean. Or maybe it's a new one. It's made the same way, all shining and sharp. Epiphany shouts, scrambling for words. We were just talking about films and theater, and I was just teasing, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can do what you like. Not that I think you should try to look younger. You don't look that old. Not old at all. Very experienced, in a good way. Unless you think it would be better otherwise. At some point during her lengthy, panicked ramblings, Epiphany becomes aware that Rarity is laughing. It's a polite sound, but she has to reach a hoof up to her face to hide her smile. Slowly, Epiphany starts to put it all together, her half-formed excuses and insistencies fading away in the air, lacking the strength to make it all the way to our ears. Rarity only watches and smiles until Epiphany at last falls silent. Then she reaches out to ruffle her mane, like Epiphany was a little full. For the record, dear, I prefer film as well, but the theater has its merits, she says, light and playful. For instance, say your escort for the evening is an absolutely charming stallion, and you don't want anything too exciting or interesting distracting you from the conversation. I blush almost immediately, but Epiphany needs a second to figure it out, and I can see the sudden understanding dawn on her face when she gets it. She giggles, a mischievous little smile appearing there as she looks between me and Rarity. I suppose that is true. She agrees. You two are friends? Oh, well, Siren is new here, but I'd like to think I make friends quickly. Rarity replies, upbeat. Could you give us a room for a bit, Epiphany? Siren and I have some private matters to discuss before you and I finish up for the evening. We won't be long. Of course. It was, nice to meet you, she says, giving me a little wave before she trots out. Rarity waits for a moment, letting the door shut behind Epiphany and giving her time to move away and down the hall. Then Rarity sighs and smiles. She'll be so beautiful when she is done. Done? I ask, glancing out the door. She's not finished with her surgery? She seemed to think she was. Oh, no, Rarity says, shaking her head, staring at the door as though gazing into a great distance. Her voice is quiet, her body language uncommonly still for a pony who gestures so much. Physically, she's finished, but her spirit needs time to grow into what she has become. She's strong now, brilliant and pure. Soon she'll realize that there is nothing common ponies can keep from her. She can make them rise when she calls them, make them love her, die for her, bask in her presence. She puts a lot of breath into the words. She's smiling, but it's not playful like before. Soft and contented. And having come to this understanding, she will discover that it's not enough, that no amount of glory or power for herself will wash away the suffering of others. The compassion that drew her here will compel her to use that power to right the wrong she sees all around her. Then she'll be done. Rarity says the words with an air of finality, the last round of emphasis. Beautiful, inside and out. She'll be a hero? I ask, not sure what to think. She'll be a masterpiece, Rarity answers, whispers really, with a wistful little chuckle. Flesh and spirit turn to clay in my hooves. What excuse do I have not to work and work until my job is done? She tilts her head to one side, watching me and letting the silence hang. She doesn't expect me to answer that, does she? I just stare at her, and after a moment, she laughs. This city may have gone wrong, but her and the others, they won't fade the way it has. They'll be my legacy. She seems to snap out of whatever thoughts have occupied her, shaking her head and looking back to me with clearer eyes. And here I am getting all sappy, she says, her tone snapping back to that practical cadence. How are you feeling, Siren? Fine. Or, well, not really, but better, I say, giving a grateful little nod. I guess she really is a devoted crafts pony. I suppose that's nice. Thank you for letting me sleep in. Well, after all you've been through, I think a little bed rest is the least of what you need, she says with a wave of her hoof. I've scheduled you for a physical tomorrow morning, by the way, to make sure you don't have any lurking injuries. I suppose that's a good idea, I say, trying not to think too much about the possibility. What was it that Green said about permanent damage? Something about not exerting myself, right? She didn't say anything about there already being internal damage. I saw Green on my way here. How nice of you to check up on her, Rarity says a touch cheerfully, focusing on the positive. I am sorry for her accommodations, but you do understand why they're necessary. She's trussed up like a mental patient, I observe, careful to keep too much accusation from flowing into my body language. There's enough of it in the words as they are. No need to push my luck. Well, she's injured several orderlies, didn't she? The attending physician had concerns. Rarity answers casually, dismissive of the entire matter. She's a very dangerous pony and obviously irrational. It seemed for the best. I understand that you were just trying to make sure she couldn't get out, but she's blind and helpless, living in fear that some pony is going to come into the room and do her in. She's suffering, I say, pressing the point as gently as I can, getting a feel for her reaction. Oh, I didn't realize, Rarity says, with a polite sort of curiosity. You don't think I'm being a poor host, do you? Like putting a hoof on a frozen pond and hearing the faintest crack. No, I didn't. You see, I pride myself on proper equestrian hospitality, she says, holding her hoof to her chest and giving a little nod of her head. Her tone never wavers from that casual cadence, where her eyes stay locked on mine, never breaking contact. This city can be so terribly rude, you know. Any pony can just throw money at the poor. She emphasizes the words with a quick flick of a hoof, as though to actually toss a pile of bits. And call themselves charitable. But I'm always careful to keep my guest's need in mind. A little thoughtfulness goes a long way, and really, it is the least I can do. I think, "Oh, that's lovely, Siren," she says with a friendly sort of interest, like she was encouraging me as I talked about my hobbies. Young ponies these days don't spend nearly enough time just stopping to think. So tell me, while you were pondering, do you think that letting Green wander free might be more hospitable? She puts her hoof back to the ground, ears up as she looks at me head on. Do you think that it might improve her state of mind? Do you? Rarity asks, advancing towards me with a half step, that stare wide and unblinking. No, I say, trying to think of something. I mean, it's only, she says with a little tisk, a sigh, and a back and forth wave of her hoof. My initial thought was that it might be easier on the staff if she didn't drag her putrid carcass around the building, polluting the hallways with her filth. She presses on without pause, taking another half step forwards as she stares down into my eyes, her tone never wavering from that gentle curiosity about my opinion. There's innocent blood on her hooves, you know, and I put one of those little mats by the door, but somehow it never comes off, and she ends up trailing it everywhere. Rarity says with a little laugh, a broad and inclusive sweep of a leg taking it in the floor all around us. It's such a production to sterilize those hallways. Every pony has to pull an extra shift, but if that's what it takes to be properly accommodating. The smile and laughter fade from her face, leaving a blank mask behind, her tone sinking into a dull, flat whisper. I suppose I will have to adjust. The fabric presses into my hind legs, and I realize I've been backing away, pinned against the couch. She's looking right at me, waiting for me to say something. Well, I manage, pretty much nailing contrition. I mean, the stammer helps, I think. I guess when I stopped to think about it, you only promised she'd be imprisoned. Nothing about her conditions. I guess I pictured a normal room, but that was pretty silly of me. Really, given that she definitely deserves to be put in a cell, and that would be much easier for you, you've gone pretty far out of your way to make me comfortable. And to make her comfortable. I wasn't thinking. I'm sorry, Rarity. I swallow, buying a second to think. I'm sorry. For a moment, no pony says anything. She just stares at me, her face blank, eyes wide. Then she smiles and laughs, a cheerful little giggle. Oh, don't be silly, Siren. All is forgiven, she says, reaching out with her magic to straighten my mane where it's become a tad ruffled. Now, come with me, she says, grinning ear to ear and leaning in to whisper the words to me like we were conspirators. There's something I wanted to show you while we were both here. She straightens up, turning to lead me across the reflecting room. I think that went pretty well. Determined that Green is a sore subject, sounded Rarity out. No harm done, and she likes me. Yeah, I nailed that. All any pony wants to talk to me about these days is politics. Trixie did this, Security did that, hours and hours of ponies prattling on about their petty concerns. I put up with it, of course. I have my duties, but an artist knows there is richer earth to till. Her horn shines, and above us I can hear gears turning, lenses and reflecting plates slide away into the ceiling, and mirrors are revealed in turn, falling from above like descending knives to cut off our view of the glass mannequins and their fabulous dresses. Soon, the entire elaborate collection of tools has vanished overhead and left us with an empty dome, surrounded on all sides by mirrors. After a moment, a small pedestal rises in the center, in the spot where Epiphany was meant to stand. What do you think? Rarity asks, breathless and eager. It's a muffin. For a second, I think she's putting me on, like when she upended the pot of warm water over my head. She's having a little fun with me, putting me in front of a muffin and daring me not to praise it as a brilliant work of art. I'm about to laugh and play along with the joke when I glance up at her eyes, just to check. She's watching me, and she is in no way kidding. I swallow that laugh down and away, luckily before it makes itself known, turning back to the muffin. I didn't know you baked. She chides, with a little wave of her hoof. No stalling for time. Your opinion, please. Well, from an artistic perspective, yeah, it's a muffin. I got nothing. Analytical, Siren. You want to field this one? The medium is the first thing that stands out to me, more than the message itself. You've chosen a perishable good, which means that the ravages of time are an inherent subtext with the message. Specifically, though, you've chosen a perishable good, wherein we can only derive value from it by destroying it. From that alone, I'd say you're in danger of the medium overpowering the message. Whatever you meant to say, the takeaway is going to be that all the beautiful things must perish. But there is value in the transitory existence. I shoot her a quick glance, making sure I'm on the right page. Poker face. So, no missteps yet. But she's not giving me the answer. But let's assume that it's more likely I've missed something than that the artistic mind that created the masterpiece you're wearing would make a mistake. Flattery will get you everywhere, dear, but it won't get you the answer, Rarity says, giggling politely. Still, continue. Visually, nothing stands out to me. Banana nut. The muffin cup is unremarkable. Paper. Disposable. Something tickles at my nose, and I lean in, sniffing at the air. It's fresh out of the oven. Smells tasty, too. That's unexpected. I fall silent for a moment, biting my lip as I think. Vaguely, I'm aware that Rarity has started to watch me with more open interest, but only in the back of my mind. Now I'm curious. I see two possibilities. One is that you have some stage hooves under the floor waiting to put a fresh muffin on the pedestal right before it rises. Valid? An interesting point to be made there about the lengths ponies will go to maintain appearances. But it doesn't fit what I know of your character. You're seeking depth for yourself, and not mocking shallower artists. Well, perhaps I'm a little more than vaguely aware that she's watching me. My survival does depend on her liking me after all, and I look so enraptured that it sounds genuine. Multitasking is really something you're born good at. Two is that you've somehow chemically treated the muffin so that it will always be warm and smell fresh. But what would be the point? It would still be destroyed when I eat it. Maybe there's a point about their mocking markers who try to appear young, since they're all going to die eventually anyway, but earlier you defended that, and it will still be destroyed when I eat it. And I bite my tongue a little, just to shift postures. That's what you do with a muffin, right? You eat it, and then it's gone. That's the point. My hoof taps the floor to keep time, all the little cogs in my head turning. You could have enchanted it to be invulnerable. That way it always smells nice and be pretty, turning it from a transitory object into... No. That would significantly lessen its value in the process, and there is no way a pony who is still producing masterworks at your age is going for a twice as bright and half as long candle piece. Something when I eat it. Something to... I've got Rarity on pins and needles now. She's just about standing on the tips of her hooves, leaning in to see my face. Something to... No way. You've created a muffin that can be eaten an unlimited number of times. Yes! Rarity shouts, actually hopping up and down for sheer joy. Try it! Try it! Try it! Try it! I levitate the muffin off the stand, hesitating for a moment as I bring it towards my mouth. I mean, this has got to be a clever trick or something. I've never heard of magic like that. Entropy is one of the fundamental truths of the universe. Magic can fiddle with it for a while, but in the end, there's no cheating the Reaper. Unless you're Princess Celestia, of course. I take the bite, trying not to look too unnerved as Rarity titters with glee next to me. It's delicious, rich and crumbly. It's still hot, steaming when my teeth tear through the cap, and inside, it's full of chewy banana bits. When I swallow, there the muffin is, in front of me, whole and unbroken. It still smells good. I don't know what to say. Art is about observing the universe, giving meaning to it all. Art is the reflection of the world. You can't come up with your thesis and decide you're going to make the world fit the piece. But you can, can't you? If your thesis is that intellect and will triumph over all barriers, don't you need to show that for it to be meaningful? How many artists have screamed that their works will live forever, but hers really will? More than that, it's first. The first really eternal piece of art. Without even thinking, I drop the muffin to the floor and smash it flat under my hoof. When I lift my leg, it's whole once again, sitting there and waiting to be eaten. I pull the wrapper off, rip it in half, spit on it just to see what happens. No matter what, the muffin always returns, waiting for me. What can I do but laugh? Suns and stars, Rarity, you're a genius, I say, and it's true. It's like for the first time I set foot in the palace. That tense excitement, the need to see everything there is to see, to know what it's all for. You're the greatest artistic mind of your generation. What is this doing here? Forget your outfit. This should be in a gallery. This should be a museum star attraction. What, so those overmarked simpletons can whine about me eliminating hunger? she asks, shaking her head and smiling at my own bedazzled expression. Art was meant to be appreciated, Siren, but these days it doesn't seem like there's any pony who really understands my work. You don't know how happy it makes me to find a young pony with a true gift. What can I do? I need to throw myself at her hooves. I need to shout, "Teach me," at the top of my lungs. But I can't. Equestria comes first. Getting home comes first. But I can get on her good side a little. That's the point of all this, wasn't it? To get her to like me. Yeah, she thinks I have the true gift. I can play that. Well, I'm happy to observe a real master, I say, hesitating for a moment. It might be overreaching, but double or nothing. And maybe while I'm here, you could teach me a few things? Oh, it's been years since I had a protege, Rary says, gleefully pulling me over into a hug. We're going to be the best of friends. Yeah, I nailed that.